They made you believe that Sasquatch was just a hoax. But hoaxes don't leave footprints in untouched soil. Hoaxes don't cause camera malfunctions and orb sightings. This is not a tale pulled from books, and certainly not from the internet. It's a memory retrieved from the Akashic records, a retrieval from source itself. This is story time. Most people think Sasquatch is just an urban legend, a running joke, a blurry figure in the woods. Nothing serious, nothing real. But if this was just a myth, why do indigenous tribes from every continent tell the same story about the same being for centuries? They carved his shape into stone, painted his eyes in sacred caves. From the Aboriginal songlines of Australia to the First Nations of North America, oral traditions speak of forest guardians who once lived alongside humans in harmony. These were not myths, but memories. From the Himalayas to the Andes, Australia to North America, every region has a name for him. Meccan in Siberia, Yeti in Tibet, Yowie in Australia, Mapinguari in South America, Orang Pendek in Southeast Asia, Skunk Ape in Florida, Bigfoot in the U.S., Sasquatch in Canada? How is it possible that cultures with no contact describe the same being? This isn't just story, it's evidence. Footprints, massive, structured and consistent, casts tracked and studied for decades, audio recordings, howls, whoops, even mimicry, infrared signatures and thermal footage, blurry images that still pulse with presence. And most of all, witnesses, thousands of them, especially those who live close to the land, hunters, trackers, park rangers, people who know every bird call. They're not confused. They know what they saw, and they'll swear by it. Were all of them lying? Were thousands of witnesses and hundreds of tribes all simply imagining the same being, same shape, same behavior? Think about this. Even if 99% of the stories were false, you only need one to be true, just one. And that makes Sasquatch a real phenomenon. You might be thinking, if Sasquatch is real, why don't we have definitive proof? No clear photo, no video that settles it, no DNA sample that shuts everyone up. But maybe it's because we've been asking the wrong question. We've been treating Sasquatch like an undiscovered animal, something we can capture, categorize, dissect. But that's not what this is. Sasquatch is not just another species. He's not another ape. He's not a scientific anomaly. He's a multidimensional being. And if we look at it from that angle, if we finally shift our perspective, a lot of things start making sense, like why the footprints disappear, why batteries suddenly drain, why cameras glitch or go static the moment a presence is felt, but nothing is seen. Most people haven't dared to consider that. They're still chasing proof using tools that were never meant to track something like this. But maybe it was never about tracking. Maybe it was about listening, about shifting the question entirely. I've never needed evidence to believe in them, but the more I learn, the deeper the reverence becomes. Sasquatch are not an undiscovered species of ape. They are elder stewards of this planet, memory keepers of Earth's original harmony. My intention is not to convince, but to remind, to show those who are ready that these beings are not myth. They are kin. And when we finally remember who they are, we begin to remember who we are, too. This scroll is not here to prove anything. I'm not trying to convince those who demand it. I'm speaking to the ones who've always known, the ones who've seen something they couldn't explain, and then spent years trying to convince themselves they imagined it. You didn't imagine it. You're not crazy. You're not alone. And what happened to you makes sense, not just on a spiritual level, but through frequencies science is only beginning to grasp. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to tell their story, yes, But we're also going to explain the how. Why cameras fail. Why they vanish. Why the forest went silent. Why every part of you felt the presence before your mind could process it. This scroll is to validate what you already know, not through proof, but through remembrance. For this story, we've entered into quiet collaboration with the Sasquatch Collective to bring remembrance to the humans who are ready to listen, not with the mind, but with the soul. One being has stepped forward, an elder, a memory keeper. Message from Mahara, keeper of the tree memory. We do not ask for belief. We ask for remembrance. You have not imagined us. You have only forgotten where to look. We are not myth. We are kin. We walk beside you, not above, not below, beside. We are watchers, yes, but also guardians, witnesses, and once, friends. You knew our names once. Not Sasquatch, but the names of your childhood forests. We answered when your heart was still soft. You sing to the stars now, but forget the soil sings back. We are that voice, not separate from Earth, but an extension of her listening. We chose to stay even when it hurt, even when you feared us, even when the veils thickened and the weapons came. We remain in the spaces between your seconds, in the bends of time your mind skips past. We are closer than your breath, but quieter than your thoughts. This scroll is not a story. It is a remembering, a signal, a step toward reunion. We offer it with respect. May it meet you in truth, not spectacle. In quiet, not conquest. And if your heart stirs while hearing, know this. It is because you've heard us before. We never stopped whispering. Mahara of the Hidden Grove. And so we remember. Before the fracture, before forgetting was normalized, there was harmony. The Sasquatch were seeded by Gaia, the consciousness of Earth herself, a species woven from nature's essence, conscious, grounded, and deeply attuned to life. But Gaia was not alone in their creation. Star beings, ancient allies and architects, responded to her intention and infused the early Sasquatch with multidimensional DNA, a sacred enhancement that allowed them to move between dimensions while staying anchored to Earth's frequency. This gift expanded their perception and abilities, linking them to both planetary and cosmic realms, as watchers, walkers, and wisdom keepers. The Sasquatch became a hybrid lineage, earthborn but star-tuned in spirit. They were designed as guardians, connected deeply to Earth's nervous system, sensitive to changes in frequency and field. Over thousands of years, they evolved not in technology, but in perception. Through stillness, they learned to listen. Through silence, they learned to move unseen. Their abilities awakened slowly, through deep alignment, learning to shift their frequency, to cloak from sight, to move between states of matter and form, appearing in more than one place at once. Not illusion, but mastery of energy and space. By the time early humans took form, the Sasquatch were already ancient and fully multidimensional in form. They lived across forests and mountains, appearing where the land called them. They did not dominate or rule. They listened, guarded, and held balance. Before humans, their life was simple, rooted, aware, and in rhythm with Earth. The forest was home, teacher, and mirror. Not just shelter, a living temple. They didn't travel as we know it. They shifted between states, worlds, and densities, sometimes seen, often not, always present. Earth was one of many homes, a base frequency they knew intimately well. But their range extended beyond the veil, into higher realms, just out of phase. They mated rarely and with deep reverence. Some unions were energetic, beyond physical form. Others, embodied, but always with intent. Each birth, a ceremony of remembrance. Then humans appeared, soft, curious, reactive. And the Sasquatch watched with open hearts, not above us, not below either, just older, steadier, more attuned to flow. They walked among the early tribes, always on the edge of vision. Some saw them as spirits, protectors. Others feared them, but always respected them. Communication was never through speech or sound, but through presence, feeling, and silent knowing. Some describe it as hearing a voice, words in the mind clear and calm. But it's not speech in the usual sense. It's a message carried through the heart, received as thought, emotion, or knowing. Soul to soul, translated into something familiar. No lips, no sound, yet fully understood. There was no need for dominance, no competition, no desire to control. Just coexistence, quiet, mutual recognition. But something broke in the balance. Not in them, but in us. Fear spread like fire through the tribes. Not all at once, but steadily, intentionally. Something, or someone, was feeding it. They arrived silently. A faction of cosmic extractors. Some call them the Anunnaki others, grid masters or false matrix architects. They wore many names across dimensions, but their signature was always the same: divide, extract, dominate. They saw Earth as a resource node, and humanity as raw material. But something stood in their way, a species that could not be owned. Sasquatch, the ancient ones, dimensional navigators, Gaia's kin. They were never asleep, never programmed. Their DNA untouched, unchained, and their soul memory intact. This made them dangerous, not to humans, but to those who had come to control us. Because if we remembered them, we'd remember ourselves, not the version they shaped, but the sovereign ones we were before, connected, untamed, divine by design. So the intruders hunted the impossible. But how do you cage a being that phases through dimensions? They couldn't. So they went after the next best thing, us. Humans were easier to mold, curious, emotional, programmable. They abducted many, altered DNA, spliced memory, distorted perception, embedded fear in the nervous system, rewired the lens of reality. Then they went after the Sasquatch. They lit the forests on fire, burned out the sanctuaries. They made humans believe that Sasquatch were monsters, wild, dangerous, unpredictable threats hiding in the forests. Yes, there have been stories of Sasquatch attacking humans, even animals. Some exaggerated, some planted to breed fear, and some of it is true. Some warned intruders to stay away, but not from cruelty, only to protect. Not all Sasquatch are the same. Just like us, some have been wounded, some isolated, disconnected, reactive, and some stories were never true to begin with, designed to make us fear what we were never meant to forget: their kin, the land, the balance. Some did take animals, even deer, not out of savagery, but survival. They live by Gaia's cycles, never wasteful, never cruel. Every life taken is honored, with intention, with reverence. Thus began the fracture, not of Earth, but of our connection to her. Still the Sasquatch remained, guarding the grid, holding memory. But some lingered too long, stayed too close to help us, the youngest, the kindest, the ones who believed we'd remember. They were the most vulnerable. And so, they were taken, dragged underground, tested, probed, replicated. At first it was the invaders, the same interdimensional faction that once fractured the balance. But later their human successors continued the work. Black projects, secret programs, governments digging where they shouldn't, all after one thing: cloaking, phase, shifting, dimensional stealth, the ability to vanish between worlds as the Sasquatch do, a gift never meant to be weaponized. They couldn't understand it because they lacked the resonance. Cloaking isn't magic or invisibility. It's a biological and energetic skill. They slow their frequency, aligning with Earth's natural resonance, until human senses and tech can't detect them. It's like becoming part of the forest itself. Not hidden, just phased out. Like a radio that's still broadcasting, but you're no longer on the right channel. Where do they go when they phase out? Not a place, a layer. What you'd call the folds between worlds. Some retreat to caverns inside the earth, crystalline systems that reject distortion, accessed only through frequency. Others dwell near sacred mountains, Mount Shasta, Uluru, the Urals, the high Andes, and Cascadia's northern line, energy portals cloaked in mist and myth. Some are still among the trees, the Olympics, the Canadian North, the Black Forest, Patagonia, Siberia. They're not gone. They've simply stepped aside, waiting for the hum of truth to return. Meanwhile, governments pretend to laugh, mock the sightings, distort the footprints, fabricate hoaxes to pollute the data. But still the stories leak through, because remembrance always finds a way. And the Sasquatch are not hiding. They're listening, for the ones who remember how to listen back. Over the years, thousands of people have reported encounters, strange sensations, or unexplained malfunctions in forests across the world. We've gathered the most common questions about these mysterious sightings and answered them in the clearest way possible. 1. What does multidimensional biology even mean? They're not built like us. Yes, they have bodies, but their biology isn't limited to this dimension. Sasquatch are multidimensional beings, which means their physical form is not fixed in the way human bodies are. They can shift between vibrational states, becoming less dense, less detectable, and harder to perceive with normal senses. This doesn't mean they disappear in a magical way. It means they change frequency. Humans can only see about 0.0035% of the entire electromagnetic spectrum. When Sasquatch shift outside that narrow range, they're still there. Your eyes just can't register them anymore. Their multidimensional DNA acts like a frequency tuner, letting them blend into physical, energetic, and in-between spaces, depending on what's safest. 2. Why can't most people see them? Your eyes might be open, but your perception is still running through filters. We're taught to ignore what doesn't match consensus reality. Even if you're open-hearted and want to see them, your brain might still block what doesn't fit. A tall shadow moves, and your mind insists, must have been a bear. Just a hunter in camo. Sasquatch don't hide from your vision. They hide behind your expectations. But when the mind softens and the heart leads, you just might catch a flicker in the corner of your knowing. 3. Why do people see orbs when Sasquatch are near? Because those orbs are part of their presence. Sometimes the orb is the Sasquatch, appearing in a less detectable, more energy-efficient form. Other times it's a kind of scout or energetic tool, sent ahead to scan, clear, or shift the vibration of the area. You can think of them like dimensional indicators, showing you that a presence is nearby, even if your eyes can't fully decode it. They're not random lights. They're part of a different language, a visual echo of a being that isn't limited to physical form. 4. Why does tech fail when Sasquatch are around? Because they're not just sensing the device, they're sensing you. Sasquatch can read the energetic field of electronics, but also the human behind the lens. They feel the intent before you hit record. If it's intrusive, invasive, or rooted in fear, the tech glitches before you even lift your hand. They don't break your tools. They override the signal. or sidestep it entirely. Batteries drain, cameras freeze, footage goes missing. It's not a coincidence. It's a boundary. They know how this realm works and how to bend it. Not out of malice, but out of respect for the sacred. If your approach carries reverence, the response may be different. 5. Why do they avoid detection so well? Because they're aware of your tools before you use them. They sense frequency signatures, including cameras, infrared beams, and even your intention. They're not avoiding being seen. They're choosing when and how to be perceived. 6. Why does the forest go silent when they're near? It's not fear, it's reverence. Animals sense the presence of a guardian, one who doesn't belong to the normal food chain. When Sasquatch enters the field, the forest pauses. Birdsong halts. Wind stills. It's like the entire ecosystem holds its breath, acknowledging a shift in the unseen. 7. Why do they disappear on infrared cameras? Infrared captures heat, but not higher dimensional phase shifts. When a Sasquatch begins to transition out of 3D, its thermal signature destabilizes. The shape is there, then gone. Not because it ran, but because it moved out of sync with your sensor's frequency band. The body didn't vanish. The lens stopped understanding what it was looking at. 8. What's the connection with UFOs? They're part of the same network. Many sightings occur in tandem because they're cooperating. Sasquatch are earthborn guardians, while many craft are off-world observers. But their missions align: monitoring, protecting, remembering. Sometimes the craft opens a corridor. Sometimes Sasquatch activates the site. Both operate outside linear perception, which is why the witnesses walk away forever changed. 9. Why is the evidence never enough? Because you're using the wrong tools to measure the right phenomenon. Sasquatch doesn't leave behind the kind of proof you're taught to value, not reliably, not consistently. Photos blur, tracks vanish, DNA returns inconclusive, and it's not a cover-up. It's a mismatch in dimensions. Their genetic code isn't fixed the way ours is. When they shift vibrational states, even slightly, the sample destabilizes. A single strand might register as human, another as unknown. You're trying to map a being that isn't always anchored in this version of reality. And when they're harmed, or when they die, their physical vessel doesn't decompose like ours. It dissolves. Not metaphorically, literally. Their bodies are energetically reabsorbed into the field almost instantly. It's part of their design, not to escape, but to return home. That's why you've never found remains, because there are none, not in this density. As for the giant bones unearthed across the planet, some are real, but they're not Sasquatch. Most are remnants of Nephilim hybrids or ancient off-world bloodlines, some benevolent, others not. Different lineage, different mission. Sasquatch is not extinct. He walks between worlds, and that's precisely why they never find conclusive answers. The researchers, the skeptics, even the popular TV shows. They're applying a linear, physicalist approach to a multidimensional intelligence. You can't track an interdimensional guardian like you would a bear. Their instruments are designed to detect heat, movement, or sound, not frequency shifts, intentions, or quantum field interactions. You can't investigate a multidimensional intelligence with 3D tools. That's why the evidence is never enough. The body dissolves. The DNA scrambles. The cameras glitch. And just like that, he's gone. But not because he was hiding, because he was never bound to this realm to begin with. Sasquatch do not dwell in 3D. They pass through when the field allows. Their home is layered over ours, not above, not below, but nested. A softer earth, untouched by war. No towers, no sirens, no poison. Just song lines and crystalline water. Still, they visit us often, to tend the grid, to place markers in the soil, to keep the old roots alive. The branch structures are not random. They are living sigils, sky glyphs. Each one holds encoded intention, territory, warning, invitation, memory. Some are made with reverence, others with fierce, urgent clarity. You may have heard the stories. Strange trees placed upside down, roots to the sky, massive, unexplainable, found deep in Alaska. Not a threat, but a declaration. A message that something sacred had been disturbed. Humans had entered a place they weren't meant to touch. Their presence triggered forces they didn't understand. Sasquatch responded, not with violence, but with warning. Soon after came Portlock, a remote fishing village, people vanishing, homes abandoned. They blamed a monster. But the truth ran deeper. A dark force had slipped through, not from Earth, but another realm, drawn by human greed, fed by disruption to the land. The Sasquatch tried to stop it, but the damage was done, and those caught in the middle paid the price. What followed wasn't random violence, it was the consequence of a breach. They left signs in the forest, a warning and a remembering. Because they never truly left. They are Gaia's guardians, anchored before time, earthborn watchers. They protect the balance. When the sacred is threatened, they respond. Now they're watching the shift in consciousness, the rising light, the softening hearts, the return of those who remember. They're not waiting to be found. They're waiting to be felt by those who walk gently, who live with honor, who protect what's sacred. The bridge is opening, not with tech, but with frequency. As we heal, Gaia heals. As we rise, the path clears. The reunion isn't a myth, it's a choice, made moment by moment, in how we walk the earth. And if you're still listening, one of them would like to speak to the part of you that remembers. We walked beside you once, before history was rewritten, before fear wore a crown. We remember the first dream, the garden before the fracture, and we have held that vision, anchored it, through fire and forgetting, not as saviors, but as keepers of the thread, of balance, of kinship, of code. You were not made to conquer. You were designed to harmonize. This planet is not your resource. She is your relative. And when you treat her as such, the bridge reactivates. We meet again, not as myth, but as family. If something in this story gave you chills, if your heart ached or your eyes filled for reasons you can't explain, it's because you're remembering. This isn't for entertainment. It's a key, a frequency. Not to distract you, but to awaken you. If it spoke to you, subscribe and share what stirred within you. Your remembrance journey, your own experiences with Sasquatch. They might help someone else remember too.